This is a march against Monsanto, and that's great. And there's some brilliant poems about Monsanto, and I love the chants against Monsanto. But tell me, in any debate on television, in any public forum in the United Kingdom, do you ever see Monsanto being presented? No, you don't, because the threat in the UK and the threat in the EU is actually not from the Monsanto Corporation. The people who are promoting this technology, the people who are driving it, the people who are speaking up for it, it's not the corporations, it's taxpayer-funded researchers. It's people we pay for, and they present themselves as independent scientists. And that makes it so much harder for us. When we march, I'm not suggesting we don't march against Monsanto, and I'm not suggesting that Monsanto is anything other than an evil corporation, although they're not the only one. I mean, their gang of five is terrible. But our fight in the UK, the fight that we have to get over, is against our so-called independent scientists, our so-called independent research establishment, and our so-called independent media. We have to change our tactics. We have to look at that as the real threat, see that as the real threat. And the only way to do that is to get people to raise their voices, to get people to stand up and be counted. We're at a critical point because we've now just passed a regulation in the EU which will allow, for the first time in 25 years, cropping of GM crops widespread in Europe. The UK is at the forefront of that push. We are likely to have GM crops in our fields in the next 2 years, only on a small scale. But coming beyond that, after that, the wheats, the oilseed rape, the potatoes, the grasses, those kinds of things, the devastation those crops have caused in the United States will be nothing compared to the devastation it will cause in the UK, where we have small fields, small farms next to each other. This will be devastation. We cannot allow it to happen, and although the crops are not going to be in the ground for the next few years, now is the time to fight against the regulation. Because no one else is fighting. The independent scientists are not fighting, the politicians are not fighting, the government's not fighting, and sure as hell the fucking media's not fighting. So citizens have to stand up and fight. We have to raise our voices, stand up and be counted. Our Beyond GM campaign is about, first of all, a visual petition. Get your photograph taken, get that up on the website. It's about encouraging people to go on their local radio stations, to talk to their local newspapers, to talk to their politicians, to do boring things like writing letters, individual letters. I'm sure, like me, everybody clicks a vase when they send out a thing, or 36 degrees or 38 degrees, whatever it is. Everybody does it, and you think, great, I'm changing the world. They ignore that. A bigger vast petition is ignored. It's all structured. A letter handwritten to an MP changes things. They think for every one letter there's 300 people in their constituency who think the same thing. It's boring. It's not dramatic. Maybe the poets can write a poem about it. I'm not sure I can, but maybe it's not the stuff of poetry. But we have to do it. Anyway, so boring stuff, really hard work, but raising citizenship to the top of the agenda, getting ordinary people involved. The marches are important, and I think Mizan and Christopher have done a great job bringing this together, and thank you very much for doing that.